This is the third part of working through the scariest experience I had with a female narcissist friend in my life. To watch the first or second part of this video, click on the links above or in the description box below. Let's get into it. NC was always creating the reality she wanted to have and the image of herself she wanted to project. The problem was that she used the law of attraction in a narcissistic way. So, the reality became a narcissistic tool for her. She was a creator, but an N-type creator, and her energy was drawn from the subjects within her system. The more pain she generated, the more creative power she had. Now you can see how this works. This is why they need their system so much. When there is a system, it is treated as one organism, and because of that, karma can be redistributed. Also, losing the system means karma starts to return to its source, and even more so because of the narcissistic fractal and the way it functions. Not only does the karma from the entire system come back to them, but the dirt from other linked systems comes to them as well. It's like they go from being the ones who dump everything on others to becoming scapegoats for all the things others want to unload. That's why they cannot lose their system. From being a queen or king of an N system, they will become a scapegoat of it and of other systems. The whole scapegoat concept has always been about avoiding karma. People and animals have been burdened with the sins of others, carrying those burdens away. Sacrifice is also a way of avoiding karma. This is why narcissists never seem to be hit with karma. They do these things without even realizing it. NC's energy felt unpredictable. You never knew from which direction she would come at you, or where she was going to touch you. It didn't feel like this all the time, but often enough, and it felt very intentional. Any attempt to free yourself from her presence was met with a violent, emotional, nuclear explosion. Being around her felt like sexual abuse, but in an energetic sense. Like some kind of dirty touch, energetically. For example, like she licked you, or touched you in places that left you paralyzed. It's like sexual abuse, but it never fully manifested physically. Sometimes, you see similar things physically in movies about psychopaths, mafia structures, and murderers. They come so close that they breathe on you, or lick your cheek. Or in movies where psychopaths tie you up and put makeup all over your face, then suddenly pull out a knife and say they were joking. All that and more. This is how it felt to be around her in an energetic sense, and yet she seemed very normal, composed, and humane on a physical level. Like I said, these were just two opposite experiences. This was such a terrifying experience. You could feel it, but you couldn't really see it. There was no substantial proof. It was truly terrible. It felt like being caught by a very sick psychopath, and you would feel all that energy. Like you were almost dead flesh being tortured by her, and she was playing with that dead flesh. It's an energy thing, again, like in mafia movies. Narcissists often energetically give you their cue, showing you what will happen if you don't submit. I hope I never experience something like that again in my life. It feels like sitting tied to a chair, with the ropes digging into your flesh, while they put colorful stickers on your face and force you to laugh and pretend it's funny. It also reminds me of some plays and performances I've attended in theaters. The royal courts, masquerades, the black and white patterned floors, the laughter, and the sudden shift in perception. When the king didn't respond to his previous favorite, didn't talk to them, the entire court's attitude would instantly change from loving to ignoring that person, effectively condemning them to social death. That's another environment where these energies can be felt. That's how courts used to be, and still are, just more covertly. It's the same energy, but more subtly expressed. We're shown these things in movies about royalty and courts, but not what's really happening in those places now. You just need to look closely, and once you do, you'll see it. But it's very covert, okay? Everything is structured in this royal-like way. Not every narcissistic system, but many, are organized with a king or queen at the top and a system beneath them. Sometimes there's a queen who reports to the king, in a way. Very often, the queen manages the system, while the king oversees the bigger, more important systems. It's similar in families, if that makes sense. All of this came to mind about courts and systems during my friendship with MC. I couldn't explain what was happening to me because my mind wasn't trained to recognize it. Instead, it flashed images and scenes from movies and things I'd seen or read about. What was happening on the scene, what she perceived, would naturally create a reality and perception that then shaped reality for others, and for me. And that reality trapped me inside it. The thing is, from a physical point of view, and for someone coming into the situation fresh, someone who doesn't know what's really going on and isn't caught in the reality, they aren't able to see what it's truly like. They will see only what the narcissist wants to portray as reality. So, it's like they see a facade, and they see the proof against you. When you really start thinking about narcissists, it's helpful to try to understand them, because they actually reveal how this world operates. For example, I've heard that even if you present them with proof, they still don't believe you. Why would that be? Because they know that the proofs are false proofs, because they create those false proofs all the time. Everything inside them is creating these false proofs. Also, many people don't really look at proofs. They only catch glimpses of events, because actual reality, in general, is built on false proof, on false perception. So if you take reality as a whole, you'll see false perception. But if you catch those glimpses, those glitches in the matrix, that's when you start to see what's really going on underneath. With this perception, when a newcomer arrives, it only further traps the victim in that perception. They don't realize it at first, and only later do they begin to understand the system. In cases like with NC's, she leaves so little proof, or none at all, against herself, and she creates such a vast narcissistic sphere of influence that you stand no chance. You look paranoid, crazy, like you've lost your mind. And because you feel so threatened all the time, because other narcissists see you, you get abused from many directions. You become like a puppy that can't be approached, constantly baring its teeth, trying to bark and protect itself. And it bites when someone tries to give it food or stroke it, because people are seen by her body as extreme danger. She's just trying to protect herself based on what she went through. That's why it's really good to observe animals. We're blinded by our own self-importance and the idea that we're so far above animals that we can't see this. But what is done to animals is usually done to us too, just in psychological and emotional ways. This leads to a deeper perception spreading to people who otherwise would have no prejudice against you. They see you, and something feels off, not integral, which becomes a red flag for them. Then, another thing happens, they might try to be friendly, and you try to be friendly too, but your body just can't execute that intentionally. You feel tense, awkward, sweaty, and stiff. Or you start talking too loud or too slow, or your body does whatever it wants in that moment. You watch yourself doing things you didn't intend. You think, oh my God, I just said something silly, or my voice sounded so edgy. You feel like you pushed that person away with your energy, and it's terrible because you never wanted that. You're trapped in a body that's doing something different from what you want it to do. To act on your humane intention, your body needs to be surrounded by humane energy. Otherwise, you've got plenty of narcissistic energy implanted in you, and it inverts and distorts your intentions. You only see yourself through your body's reaction and experience yourself exactly as the narcissist scripted it for you. Meanwhile, the other person gets scared of you and begins to think of you as crazy, weird, or like you might cling to them because you feel so hungry for love and kindness that the dam breaks and you have no boundaries. That embarrassment makes you want to escape and isolate yourself, partly to protect others from yourself, because your body acts in ways you don't intend. The narcissistic energy holding you hostage pulls you into situations that only make things worse, causing you to feel humiliated or even unintentionally humiliate others. Somehow, the situation always makes you feel, look, and actually presents evidence against you, for you, and for others. You lose more and more dignity, and the proof that once kept your mindset of being a good, liked, friendly, kind, and loving person, the truth that guided you, is gradually erased. Instead, you accumulate growing proof against yourself, proof that you are a bad, awful person. When your mind becomes convinced you're bad, a monster, it's an even deeper level of being taken over by energy and imprisoned in its prison. You don't have to live with all that, you can clear it all, but no one will believe your story or why you did this or that. Your story is hidden. No one will believe you when you say you struggle to learn and come unprepared because of it. For example, a lecturer might bully you because they think you deserve it, since you seem fine and they're sure you're lazy. They connect your behavior with their interpretation, but your story is very different, and usually, you don't even fully understand your own story. So, it becomes easier to accept the bad label because at least it matches what you see in yourself: lazy, indifferent, or uncaring. It's like you're imprisoned in your own mind. You act provocative, angry, or indifferent, because this is a safer alternative than breaking down in tears and being ridiculed even more. It's sometimes better to be feared or seen as ignorant than to be hurt and mocked. It protects you. Being provocative, angry, lazy, or ignorant may seem like a better option, but then you get punished for it too, and you can't stop acting that way because it's your only defense. What often isn't recognized is that your body simply isn't working properly. The experience of such abuse is so turbulent and traumatic that your sleep patterns get completely dysregulated. You don't know if you're hungry because your stomach is constantly aching and cramped. You can't focus, and socially you're either too much or too little. You suffer panic attacks and anxiety attacks that often aren't visible, you just feel them inside. They wreak havoc on your body and mind. Your story is hidden even from yourself. Even if you try to start talking, you overwhelm and burden others with it. You appear angry, jealous, snarky, and negative, because abuse implants all that in you. Consciousness conquers you, takes over by force, and now runs your life and creates your reality. It also blocks your healing and escape. Everything that could help you is either banned, defined as bad through the programming, or you sabotage yourself because your body acts against your will. Your voice sounds raw and unpleasant, or so quiet that people can't hear you. Your stories don't make sense. You're so deep inside your head that when you speak, you only express a small fragment of what you think and can't fully articulate your thoughts. It looks like you forget yourself, and that's true, because your mind is so damaged by the abuse. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.